All right, so I just found these questions, and I think they are very high yield, and we should do them together. The first question is, so on your left side here, says the water content of lean body mass is about A, 30 mils per 100 grams, 50 mils per 100 grams, 70 mils per 100 grams, D, highly variable. So the answer here is D. It is 70 mils per 100 grams. That is the water content of lean body mass. Number 2 says body mass index is calculated as A, weight in pounds by height in meters, weight in kg by height in meters, weight in kg divided by square of height in meters squared. So this is the answer here. So C is the answer here for 2. 3 says the most abundant cation in ICF is A, sodium, B, potassium. So the answer here is potassium. Potassium is the most abundant cation in ICF. Number 4, the most abundant anion in ECF is A, bicarbonate, B, chloride. So the answer here is chloride. So chloride is the most abundant anion in ECF. 5, ECF volume is determined by A, plasma sodium, B, plasma protein concentration, C, the amount of sodium in ECF. So it is the amount of sodium in the ECF, because the sodium determines what we call crystal osmotic pressure. So the crystal osmotic pressure is what is going to pull solutes, and is what is going to pull water in the ECF. So the amount of sodium, which is a solute in the ECF, will determine how much water is in the ECF. All right. Number 6, the body fluid compartment that contains more osmotically active particles in relation to other fluid compartments in the same individual is A, intracellular fluid, plasma, interstitial fluid. So we know that intracellular fluid is the most abundant. Okay, intracellular fluid is about 40% of the total fluid volume. Number 7, the following values are obtained on a sample of serum from a child that has clinical evidence of dehydration. So sodium is 135, serum glucose is 540, serum urea nitrogen is 56 grams per deciliter. The osmolarity of serum is expected to be close to, so you need to use a formula here and calculate. And after you calculate, you find that it is going to be close to about 320 milliosmolar kg of water. So the answer here is D. So answer is D. So the answer there is D. Number 8, the following values are obtained on a sample of serum from a child that has clinical evidence of dehydration. Okay, so serum sodium is 130 millimoles per liter, serum glucose is 540 milligrams per deciliter, serum urea nitrogen is 56 milligrams per deciliter. Assuming there are no toxins in ECF, the effective serum osmolarity is approximately 290 milliosmolar per kg of water. So the answer is A here. A. Number 9, what percentage of osmolarity of plasma in a healthy, well hydrated individual is attributable to sodium and its accompanying anions? So we know that sodium and its accompanying anions make up the bulk of it. So it's about 90%. 90% makes up the osmolarity of the plasma. Number 10, which of the following contributes least to the osmolarity of plasma? So it's proteins. So proteins contribute very minimal to the osmolarity of plasma. Number 11, the osmolar concentration of sodium in normal human plasma is approximately, so we know that sodium is approximately 135 to 145 milliosmolar per liter. Number 12, in the steady state, the value of which of the following variables is the same in ICF and ECF? So 12, for osmolarity, in a steady state, the osmolarity of the ICF and the ECF are almost the same. Number 13, which component does the term sucrose space refer to? So the sucrose space refers to the extracellular fluid, because we know that sucrose is an indicator that is used to measure the extracellular fluid. 14, the volume of distribution of intravenously administered sucrose in a healthy, well-hydrated 70 kg man is about, so you calculate from the formula, 20% of 70 kg will give you 14 liters. So the answer here is 14 liters. We know that sucrose will measure the ECF, and the ECF is 20% of the total body weight, so it will give you 14 liters. Number 15, in a healthy adult, ECF volume constitutes what fraction of the body weight? It's 20%. 16, in a healthy adult male weighing 70 kg, the total volume of fluid present in the transcellular compartment does not normally exceed, so it does not normally exceed 1 liter. Transcellular fluid is very minimal. 17, which of the following markers administered intravenously distributes exclusively in the intracellular fluid? So the answer here is none of the above. Why? Because Evans blue is for the plasma, heavy water is for total body water, sucrose is for ECF. 18, which of the following substances can be used as a marker for the ECF compartment? So it is non-metabolizable sugars. Non-metabolizable sugars like the sucrose. Okay, D2O is for total body water. Radiohydrogenated albumin is for plasma. 19, which of the following markers is incorrectly matched with its volume of distribution? Antipyrine total body water, this is correct. Inulin ECF, correct. Evans blue plasma, so the answer here is D. Albumin does not measure 125 albumin does not measure blood volume. It measures plasma. We know that blood volume is a combination of plasma and the packed cells. Number 20, 100 milligrams of sucrose is injected intravenously into an adult male weighing 70 kg. The plasma concentration of sucrose after mixing is 0.01 milligrams per ml. If 5 milligrams of sucrose has been metabolized during this period, the ECF volume in this individual is approximately, so 100 milligrams minus the metabolized 5 milligrams will give you 95 milligrams divided by 0.01, that will give you 9,500 mils. You convert it to liters, it will give you 9.5 liters. So the answer there is B. 21, a known amount of heavy water and inulin are injected intravenously into a healthy 35-year-old. The volume of distribution of heavy water and inulin were 36 liters and 12 liters respectively. Which of the following estimations is most likely? So A, plasma volume is 6 liters. Okay. Interstitial fluid is volume is 6 liters. ICF is 28 liters. ECF volume is 12 liters. So ECF volume is 12 liters. This is most likely. Okay. Why? Because inulin measures the ECF. So this 12 liters represents the ECF volume. 22. In a healthy adult weighing 70 kg, plasma volume was estimated to be 3,000 mils. His hematocrit is 40%. His blood volume is approximately 5,000 mils. Why? Because we know blood volume is simply plasma volume. Total blood volume is equal to plasma volume times 100 over 100 minus hematocrit. You make that math, you calculate, you work out that mathematical equation, it will give you approximately 500 mils. All right, let's go to number 23. Number 23. What fraction of total body water is potassium? What fraction of total body potassium is present in plasma? So in plasma, total body potassium is very low. It is about 0.4%. Okay? And then 24. A substance is injected intravenously. A substance injected intravenously was found to be distributed through 35% of total body water. Which of the following is most likely? It does not pass through blood capillaries. It entered neurons and cerebral ventricles. It did not enter cells. So it did not enter cells is the answer. It did not enter cells because we know that 35%, okay, it did not enter cells because this total body water is outside of the cells. 25. Which of the following substances, the lipid bilayer per se, that is without proteins, is most permeable to? So the lipid bilayer is most permeable to water. It's most permeable to water. 26. Red blood cells from a healthy individual were placed in each of the following solutions and observations were made after 1 hour. Cells would have most likely have lysed when placed in. So cells would have lysed when placed in 0.3% sodium chloride, because we know that this one here is a hypotonic solution. So hypotonic solution would lead to a lot of water entering the red blood cells and they would lyse. Which of the following solutions is hypertonic? So 20% mannitol is hypertonic. 0.9, this one is isotonic. This one will be isotonic. Distilled water isotonic. So this one is hypertonic. 28. The volume of red blood cells placed in a sodium chloride solution with an osmolarity of 280 milliosmolar per kg water is 100 femtoliters. What will be the steady state volume when they are placed in a sodium chloride solution with an osmolarity of 350 milliosmolar per kg water? Okay, so this is not normally asked at UNZA, but the answer here is 80. Okay, femtoliters when you do the calculations. 29. ICF does not change when dehydration is. So ICF does not change when dehydration is isotonic. It's the same, so it does not change. 2 liters of 0.9% sodium chloride is administered to a 12-year-old boy with moderate isotonic dehydration. What is the expected change in ICF volume after sodium dehydration? So the answer here, we say there is no change. There is no change. 31. ICF volume decreases. ICF volume decreases when dehydration is. So when dehydration is hypertonic. So when dehydration is hypertonic, water will move from the ICF and it will go into the ECF. 32. If the intent is to replenish total body water in a dehydrated individual, which of the following would be administered intravenously? So you would administer intravenously 5% dextrose solution, because we know that this dextrose solution will be metabolized into the cell and water is going to follow. So water is going to go into the cells. 33. Cell volume and pressure is mainly dependent upon the activity of sodium-potassium pump. So the sodium-potassium pump, cell volume is dependent on this activity. 34. Which of the following exerts the greatest osmotic effects across capillaries on a mole-to-mole basis? It is albumin. Okay, so albumin will make sure that the oncotic pressure is maintained. Number 35. The rate of diffusion of a substance across the cell membrane is inversely proportional to 1. Concentration gradient of the substance, no. Diffusion coefficient, no. Surface area available for diffusion, no. D. Thickness of the cell membrane. So the answer here is thickness of the cell membrane. 36. Which of the following modes of transport across a cell membrane is quantitatively more important for flux of ions? The answer is diffusion. So diffusion is quantitatively more important for the flux of ions. 37. Among its plasma proteins, albumin makes the greatest contribution to colloid osmotic pressure of plasma proteins, because relative to most proteins, albumin is the most abundant. So this is the most abundant plasma proteins, albumin. 38. Osmotic pressure of crystalloids is not included in the Stirling's equation describing fluid exchange across capillaries, because they were discovered after Stirling described the forces. No crystalloids carry electric charges. No crystalloids diffuse freely across the capillary. The answer is here. So crystalloids diffuse freely across the capillary endothelium. 39. The term oncotic pressure is applied to osmotic pressure exerted by albumin and other plasma proteins across the cell membrane. So the answer here is that. 40. Which of the following is matched incorrectly? Microfilaments, actin, myosin. This is correct. Intermediate filaments, vimentin, keratin. Correct. Microtubules, clathrin. So this is incorrect. Microtubules are not clathrin. Okay. 41. The mitotic spindle is made up of a protein called tubulin. So this is correct. The answer here is tubulin. 42. The mitochondrial genome is absent from. Okay. So the mitochondrial genome is absent from the mature red blood cells. It is absent from the mature red blood cells. There's no mitochondrial genome. 43. Cytosolic calcium concentration is in unexcited cells is about 150 micrometer. Okay, micro concentration. So micromolar. M is molar here. 44. Most of the calcium in the endoplasmic reticulum is sequestered by there's a protein that is called calciquestrin. 45. Which of the following statements regarding regulation of cell is incorrect? This serves to regulate transition of the cell from one phase of the cell cycle to the next. No. At restriction points, cyclins always promote transition from G0 to S phase. C. Defects in DNA synthesis normally allow progression from G2 to, so the answer here is C, but also B is correct. So B and C are correct there. 46. Which of the following is an example of primary active transport? So the answer here is E. Calcium sequestrum in sarcoplasmic reticulum by calcium ATPase. That is active transport because it uses ATP. 47. Sodium glucose transport in the intestine and kidney is an example of a secondary active transport. So it's secondary active transport. 48. Which of the following is or are active transport processes? All right, you select all the correct answers here. So it's saying select all the correct answers. So let's look at the correct answers. Extrusion of calcium into ECF. So this is correct. Efflux of sodium during repolarization, no. Entry of chloride into neurons, no. Transcytosis, vascular transport, this is correct as well. So here, A and D are correct. 49. You select all the correct answers. Which of the following processes is ATP dependent? Acidification of lysosomes, correct. Actin myosin cross bridge cycling, correct. Exocytosis is correct. Micropinocytosis is also correct. So here, all the answers are correct. Which of the following transport processes is mediated by a carrier protein in the plasma membrane? So here you select the correct answers. A. Glucose uptake through the SGLT1. So this is correct. Sodium influx through sodium channels, no. Sodium ATPase, sodium potassium ATPase, that is correct. Water flux through aquaporins, no. So A and C here are the correct answers. So those are the first 50 questions that we are doing in this video. All right, so let's do the second set of 50 questions and then we will continue doing questions. So 51. Which of the following process does not exhibit saturation kinetics? It is simple diffusion. This one does not exhibit saturation kinetics. So 51 is C. Sodium potassium chloride transporter in the apical membrane of thick ascending limb of the loop of Henle is an example of, so it's an example of secondary active diffusion because it uses sodium to carry other ions. 53. Which of the following is an example of passive transport? It's C. Potassium efflux through potassium leaky channel. That's a passive. It doesn't require any energy. 54. Which of the following ions is not transported across the cell membrane by a primary active transport mechanism? So it is chloride. Chloride is always carried by a secondary active transport mechanism. 55. Figures A and B below depict the relationship between transport rates in the y-axis in arbitrary units and concentration gradients in x-axis in arbitrary units of two substances A and B. So which of the following is correct? B is transported by facilitated diffusion. No. Transport of B is ATP dependent. No. There is a transport maximum for B. Exactly. So there's a transport maximum. Why? Because we can see here that when it reaches a certain point, it stops increasing. So there's a transport maximum for B. 56. Immunocytosis requires an increase in the intracellular concentration of calcium. So it's calcium. 57. How many transmembrane domains do G protein coupled receptors have? So the answer is 7. So they have 7 transmembrane domains. 58. How many subunits do G proteins have? They have 3. So the answer here is C. 58. 59. Which G protein activates adenylyl cyclase? It's GS. So let's see. The answer is A here. It's GS protein. GS protein. 60. Which subunit of G proteins has intrinsic GTP phase activity? So the one that has GTP phase activity is the alpha subunit. Okay, the alpha subunit. 61. Which of the following hormones does not act via G protein coupled receptor in the cell membrane? It is the antidiuretic hormone. So this does not act. The rest act because they are hormones. Okay, because they stimulate the G coupled receptor hormones. 62. Which toxin inhibits the function of the GI coupled protein? The answer here is the pertussis protein, the pertussis toxin. 56. 63 rather. Which receptor does not span the cell membrane 7 times? So it's the insulin receptor. The answer is the insulin receptor. So this one does not span the cell 7 times. 64. The second messengers in the phosphatidyl inositol cascades are, so the answer here, IP3, DAG, calcium. So these are the answers. So these are the second receptors. 65. Which of the following stimulates the release of calcium from the endoplasmic reticulum? It's IP3. 66. Protein kinase C is activated by this one here. Protein kinase C is activated by dihydroxy diacylglycerol, the DAG, the diacylglycerol. Okay, CAMP will go and activate the receptors on the sarcoplasmic reticulum, but to some extent it also does. 67. Which of the following is not a second messenger in a signal transduction pathway? This is. So the answer here is guanylyl cyclase. This is not a secondary messenger. This is an enzyme. 68. The smooth muscle relaxing effects of endothelium derived from relaxing factor nitric oxide are mediated by an increase in intracellular level of cyclic GMP. So the cyclic GMP. 69. Which of the following hormones or growth factors does not signal via receptor tyrosine kinases? So it's ANP. ANP does not signal via the receptor tyrosine kinases. 70. Guanylyl cyclases are activated by the carbon monoxide nitric oxide at AMP. So this is what activates the guanylyl cyclases. 71. You should select all the correct answers. Which of the following hormones mediates its effects by activating cytosolic receptors? Tyrosine, yes. Retinoic acid, yes. Estradiol, yes. Progesterone, yes. Aldosterone, yes. Cortisol, yes. 1,2 dihydroxyl D3. This is so all of them here are correct. Which intercellular junctions directly allow the passage of small molecules and ions between the cytosol of one cell and its neighbor without movement into interstitial fluid? So they are the gap junctions. So gap junctions are the intercellular junctions that will allow the passage of substances. Gap junctions, 73, are made up of a protein that are called connexin. So the answer here is connexin. Correct. 74. Connexins do not allow the passage of polypeptides because polypeptides are big. The rest here are small. 75. This philosophy that all vital mechanisms are directly towards maintaining constance of composition of the internal environment and that this is necessary for the sustenance of life was first propounded by, so it's Claude Bernard. It's homeostasis. So Claude Bernard coined the homeostasis theorem. 76. The term homeostasis was coined by Walter Buchanan. So Walter Buchanan is the one who coined the homeostasis, and the one who explained it was Claude Bernard. He said homeostasis is required for the proper functioning of the body. 77. The core body temperature of an experimental animal is raised from 98 Fahrenheit to 106 Fahrenheit by passive heating. Eventually, it dropped to 99 Fahrenheit. What is the gain of the temperature regulation in this instance? So this one is not normally asked at UNZA, so I'll just skip it. 78. Which of the following statements is about negative feedback control mechanisms is incorrect? Output is one of the inputs to the system. Yes. It is based on a set point for controlled variable. Yes. The system corrects errors. Yes. The set point of the system cannot be changed by inputs rather than the controlled variable. So the answer here is D. 79. The unit of pressure is the Pascal. So the unit for pressure is the Pascal. 80. The diameter of a red blood cell is 7 exponential minus 6. Okay. 81. The volume of a red blood cell is approximately, so the volume of a red blood cell approximately is 90 femtoliter. 82. Which of the following quantities is dimensionless? A. Specific gravity of plasma. So specific gravity of plasma is dimensionless. Yes. Osmolarity of urine? No. Resistance to airflow? No. Ejection fraction is dimensionless. Filtration fraction is dimensionless. So the answer is here A, D, and E. 83. If an individual is breathing 15 times per minute, respiratory frequency is approximately, so this one is not really taught at your level, so I'll skip it. But the answer here is D, 0.2 hertz. 84. If intracellular and extracellular calcium are 2 millimoles per liter and 100 nanomoles per liter, the ratio of intracellular and extracellular calcium is approximately, so it's approximately 20,000. So the answer here is C. It's approximately 20,000. 85. The mass of 1 mole of potassium. Okay. So the mass of 1 mole of potassium is 39 grams. If the mass of 1 mole of potassium is 39 grams. If the potassium chloride concentration of a solution is 39 grams in percentage, the concentration of potassium in this solution is supposed to be 10 millimoles. Okay, it's supposed to be 10 millimoles per liter. 86. If the pH of a urine sample is 5.4 and the pH of arterial plasma is 7.4, the ratio of concentration of hydrogen ions in the urine sample and in the plasma is approximately, so it's approximately 100. So it's approximately 100. You convert these into their concentrations using pH is goes to negative log concentration of H, and then you work out the ratio. 87. What is the ratio of the concentration of hydrogen ions? So what is the ratio of the concentration of hydrogen ions in gastric juice, which is pH 1.4, and arterial plasma, which is 7.4? So it is 10 to the power 6. 87. 88. The hydrogen ions of arterial plasma is normally about, so it is normally about 40 nanomoles per liter. 89. In which of the following below is the concentration of hydrogen expressed in nanomoles per liter? The partial pressure of carbon dioxide is in millimeters of mercury, and the concentration of bicarbonate is in millimoles per liter. Which of the following is true? Which of the following is true? So 89 didn't have so many options, but the answer here is B. So you work out this. So 10 more questions to go. 90. Normally, the ratio of partial pressure of carbon dioxide and plasma bicarbonate is 1.6. So this is the ratio. It is 1.6. 91. The Henderson-Hasselbalch equation states that when a buffer acid is half dissociated, the pH of a solution is, so it's equal to the pKa. It's equal to the pKa. 92. Okay, 92. A buffer is most effective when the pH of a solution is close to the pKa. So the answer here is pKa. 93. The most abundant protein in mammalian cells is in mammalian cells. The most abundant in mammalian cells is actin. So it's actin. Collagen is outside of the cells. 94. The diameter of which of the following cytoskeletal components is the least? Microfilaments are the least. So microfilaments are the least. Microfilaments are the least. Okay. So let's look at 90, 94, they are the least. 95, 96, 97 are not really part of your assessment, so I'm going to skip them. 98, activation of which of the following enzymes leads to the formation of diacylglycerol and inositol 1,4,5 triphosphate. So it's activation of hormone sensitive lipase, which is just phospholipase C. So the answer here is E, phospholipase C. So the answer is phospholipase C. 99, which of the following is not known to act via a G protein coupled receptor in target cells? So the answer here is aldosterone. We looked at this already. 100, and the last question. Dimerization of which of the following hormone receptors is essential for signaling? So it is the growth hormone receptor. So this is not essential for signaling. Okay, so these were the 100 questions that I wanted to revise with you tonight. Pass through them, and all the best in your assessments tomorrow.